Real quick, take your finger and point to your subconscious. Where is your subconscious? Where is it? Point to it now. Where is it? Where's your subconscious? I'm serious. Do it. Do it right now. This is important. Now, if you pointed to your head, you only pointed to a tiny portion of your subconscious. If you pointed to your heart, you also only pointed to a tiny piece of it. Your subconscious is in several places. It is in your physical and etheric bodies. The largest portion of it is actually in your DNA, and some of it is even in the earth itself and in the cosmos. It is that big, a super massive system that starts with your body but extends to the entire cosmos. And we shall cover it all in this video series. Now, because your subconscious is part of your physical and etheric bodies, you cannot reprogram it without first understanding your body's systems. Just as you cannot program an iPad app without understanding how an iPad works. And you cannot drive a car without learning how a car works. You simply have to understand how your body works first before you can hope to reprogram your subconscious at will. So, let's get started on learning how human consciousness works within the body. This knowledge will empower and liberate you beyond your imagination. Now, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you might see just, a fragile flesh and bones image reflected back to you. But that is just the surface reality of what your body truly is. It is way beyond flesh and bones. Let us dive deep into your body and know it both in a scientific and in an esoteric way, in a way that you may never have seen your body before. And when you know yourself in this way, all of a sudden, your power, your control, your joy and your peace will all increase dramatically. The first thing to note is that your body is a multi-purpose quantum vehicle and device. It is a vehicle because it allows you to move around, and it is a device because it is an amazing piece of equipment with multiple purposes. Let us examine some of its functions. Starting with the obvious, your body is literally a bodysuit. It is a device through which consciousness experiences physical reality. It is like a suit that your consciousness wears and calls home while in physical reality. Furthermore, like all physicality, it is made of quantum particles that flash in and out of existence 50 billion times per second, each time reconstructing themselves into the physical form according to the information field, the beliefs, the templates that you hold in your consciousness. Your body is quantum. Your eyes see a static looking body, but the body is quantum in every way, flashing in and out of existence 50 billion times per second and obeying all the laws of quantum mechanics. Very closely related to that, your body is an avatar. It is one of your soul's personality identity expressions in 3D. Your soul has many personalities. One of these personalities is your current incarnation, your current life. Your personality is a mind-body-spirit complex that has many colors, many attributes, many desires and beliefs and aspirations and values and so on. It chooses an avatar that best represents these to the world. For example, if your current incarnation's mind-body-spirit complex wishes to experience being a single mother to an underprivileged kid in an environment having racial segregation, and how to find unconditional love and joy in those tough circumstances, it may choose to formulate an avatar, a body, which is female and black, and place it in a society where racism against blacks and women is prevalent. So, the avatar provides the mind-body-spirit complex the attributes necessary to experience its life's lessons and so on. It is called an avatar because it is an incarnation, an embodiment or manifestation of an idea. You are not your avatar. You are simply using your avatar. Your body is also a communication device, and I mean that in the way we all understand communication, including speaking, listening, body language, and so on. Additionally, it is connected to the whole universe through the chakra system, DNA, the aura, and the pineal gland. These additional facilities are not consciously used by most people. However, as you will see in this video and other videos in this series, These devices, when turned on, when activated, connect the human to other beings, to other energies, to other dimensions, and so on. Of course, your body is also a terrestrial mobility vehicle that allows you to move around in the world, in physicality, in 3D. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy if this is the first time that you're hearing this, but this will make more and more sense as we go through these videos. But as incredible as it sounds, the body is also an extraterrestrial mobility vehicle, otherwise known as the Merkaba. When activated, it allows a person to use their body to move throughout space-time and the various dimensions. When you hear of people bilocating or moving from one point to another in a way that simply breaks the laws of time and physics, those people are using their Merkabas. The body is an altar too. It is housing your divine self. The body is often closer to the soul than the mind is because it automatically grows as a flower does, trusting its nature, trusting spirit. And the more we go through these videos, the more you will realize how amazing this body is and why it is a living, active altar with divine powers installed and ready for use for those who know how to activate and use them. Now, let's get into the body, starting with the human energy system. The body is one amazing, absolutely amazing energy system. And once you understand how it works, half of your life's challenges will start to resolve themselves automatically, simply from the new understanding. The other half will become much easier to embrace and resolve, even if you still have to work on them. Your body is composed of energy centers, energy bodies, energy channels, and more. Let's start with the energy centers or chakras, also called wheels of light. Now, what is a chakra? Chakra is a Sanskrit word meaning wheel or vortex. It is an energy wheel or an energy vortex. Have you ever loved something and felt that love in your heart? If you have felt your heart chakra. That energy that you felt, that you then called love, in the region of your heart area was not felt by the physical heart itself. It was felt by the spinning energy wheel, the vortex or the chakra, called the heart chakra, that is found in the heart area. Chakras have many functions, and we will talk about a few of them. A chakra regulates energy flow within our system and connects two external and cosmic systems and energies. Alongside that function, chakras also metabolize and interpret energy. These chakras function as pumps or valves, regulating the flow of energy through our energy system. As a simple example, whenever you make a decision about something in your life, about how you choose to respond to a condition in your life, the chakras that correspond to that issue will open and close their valves appropriately, spin appropriately, expand or contract appropriately, and that will cause you to feel certain emotions about that thing, to have or not to have certain energy available to accomplish a related task about that thing, to feel motivated or demotivated about that thing, to perceive that situation in a certain way, and so on. Chakras are not physical. You will not see them by performing an autopsy on a corpse. They are quantum multi-dimensional energy devices. You can see them with your third eye, with your inner vision, very clearly actually. But you cannot see them with your physical eyes. They connect and interact with the physical body in several ways, but the two major ways that we know of is through the nervous system and the endocrine system. The endocrine glands are responsible for hormone regulation in the body. Each chakra is associated with one of the endocrine glands and with a group of nerves called a plexus, the most famous of which is the solar plexus. And in this way, each chakra can be associated with particular body parts and particular functions of the body through this direct link with that part's endocrine gland and that part's plexus. Chakras are also sensors, scanners, and data devices. All of your senses, all of your perceptions, all of your possible states of awareness, everything that is possible for you to experience in your particular stage of evolution can be divided into 7 categories. Obviously, as we humans evolve, the number of categories expands. But currently, we have 7 categories. Each category is associated with one of the 7 major chakras. And in this way, each chakra represents not only particular parts of your body and their functioning, but also particular parts of your consciousness. For example, let's assume you feel stress, a particular kind of stress. That particular kind of stress is registered in your consciousness, which in turn picks it up from the chakra and the plexus associated with the particular matter that you are stressed about. Where you feel the stress depends on why you feel the stress. And so we have a two-way feedback system between consciousness and the body via the chakras and the plexuses. Now, assume that you allow this stress to continue unresolved. Eventually, it will cause a disease or ailment in the specific part of the body that is related to that chakra and plexus. And it will manifest in a way that best matches your perceived consciousness of this stressful matter or situation. The disease or the dis-ease will be a symptom that reflects the idea or belief of the matter or the situation. The symptom serves as a communication to you through your body about what you have been doing to yourself in your consciousness. Your conscious mind may not see how this new disease is related to your stress, but the subconscious knows perfectly well how this connection came about and how to resolve it. And you can, if you choose, bring that wisdom from your subconscious and into your conscious awareness. And once you change your mind, your perception of that stressful situation or that stressful matter, and you no longer feel stressed about the matter because your perspective about it has changed, then that very same system will make that disease disappear, and the environment around you will also change. Yes, the chakras not only interface with your physical body, but they also interface with the energy around you, your physical environment. Now, do you start to see how consciousness connects to the body in a very literal way? Consciousness has physics. There are thousands of chakras, but 7 are the major ones in our current stage of evolution. But we are about to activate another 5 major ones, bringing it to a total of 12 major chakras. We shall see all this shortly. Now, as you can see here, the main chakras are facing front and back, except the first and the 7th, which face down and up respectively. The chakras exchange and metabolize energy from and to the universal energy field. Each chakra has small vortices that rotate at very high rates. Each vortex metabolizes and works within a defined energy spectrum that resonates with its particular spin frequency. The colors observed in each chakra are caused by the frequency of energy being metabolized at that chakra's particular rate of spin or frequency rate. And as we know, colors are simply frequency ranges within the visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And so now you start to see how the puzzle connects. It's all about vibration. And so we can say that the chakras have these additional functions. Number 1, to vitalize your physical body and all your non-physical bodies that comprise your aura. 2, to enable the development of different aspects of your consciousness, since each chakra is related to a specific psychology and physical function. 3, to connect to spirit through the layers of your aura. Your aura is comprised of 7 energy bodies or layers. Each of those energy bodies or layers exists in a higher octave of frequency, a higher dimension than the previous one. You literally straddle 7 dimensions, actually more, but for now we shall stay within the first 7. Now, the link between these dimensions is through the chakras, because each layer of the aura also has the exact same chakras as the chakras of the physical body. For example, take the heart chakra. Your heart chakra actually has 7 layers to it, 1 for each energy body or layer. Each of these heart chakra layers is in an increasingly higher frequency octave or dimension. And all the heart chakra layers are interconnected by seals. And so there are 7 seals per chakra. Each seal opens and closes. These seals regulate the energy flow between the auric layers and the physical body. They open and close depending on the spiritual state of the person, moment by moment. You can literally disconnect yourself from spirit or fully connect, and that connection is literal. It is not metaphorical. When we say that a person is connected or disconnected from their spirit, we are talking of literal things, an actual connection. We are not speaking metaphorically. We are talking of literal devices that are either opened or closed. Devices. Consciousness has physics. And now let us point out the 7 major chakras real quick before we describe what each does. Here is the base chakra, and then here is the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. In addition to those 7 chakras that spin in the body, there are another 5 major ones that spin outside of the body as we know it today. One of these connects to Gaia, and the rest connect to off-planet energies, the galaxy and the universe at large. Quite literally, we are one is not just a spiritual saying, but also an implementation of energy in a very real and practical incarnate way. Consciousness has physics. We don't know too much about these other chakras, but we, humanity, are evolving to a place where it is about to activate these other chakras. Evolution is not just about changing the physical body. Evolution evolves everything else alongside that. Your spiritual body, your planet, and just about everything you can think about. And one aspect of evolution involves things such as DNA activation and chakra activation. Now, let's point out these additional chakras. Don't get hung up on the names of the chakras or what they do at this stage, as we, or I, really don't have too much information on them at this stage. Also, keep in mind that we are talking of quantum things here, beyond space-time as we know it, physically. Here is the Earth Star chakra, which connects with Gaia. And here are the other 4 chakras. First, we have the etheric chakra. It is found within a few feet of the body. It is awaiting DNA activation. Currently, we are only using about 30% of our DNA capabilities. We are nowhere near close the 100% potential that it's capable of. As we reactivate or increase the activation of our DNA up from 30% to 40% and so on and so forth, this chakra and the rest will start to activate. And this particular chakra will move into the Earth's atmosphere and become more of an Earth chakra, a link to the gridwork. Next is the real self chakra. It connects with the solar system once it goes online with DNA activation. Then we have the soul star chakra. It connects with the galactic system or the galactic gridwork once it goes online with DNA activation. Then we have the divine gateway chakra. It connects with a certain place in the universe once it goes online with DNA activation. Having said that, there are literally hundreds of minor chakras connected to the main ones. That is how the system functions. Here are a few of them illustrated. Now, let's talk about energy bodies. Here is an illustration of a human aura. And here is an illustration of 2 people interacting and how their auras interact. Now, have you ever come close to somebody and just gotten good vibes or bad vibes about them? Maybe you got good vibes and you just felt that, I can trust this person, or I can relate to them. I somehow connect. Or maybe you've met somebody and just gone, I don't want to be anywhere near this person. Now, experts tell us that when we interact with others, the bulk of the communication is not in what we say, it's not in our words. It is in the body language. But I would like to further clarify and say that body language is there, yes, but actually the bulk of the information that we communicate to each other is actually in the aura. That's what we feel when we feel vibes about somebody. The aura contains all the information about you that is related to you. There are no secrets at the aura level. We may pretend at the physical level to withhold secrets. We play that game of withholding information from each other. Or we pretend to be what we aren't, and so on. But at the aura level, the aura can't lie. Now, let's go through the energy bodies. My favorite expression of this kind of information is that which was done by Barbara Brennan. She does a beautiful job of illustrating and explaining the energy bodies. And so we shall use her examples throughout parts of this video. In this particular illustration, on the left, we have the etheric body, which is the body that immediately follows the physical body, 1 octave up in frequency, 1 dimension up. It is followed by the emotional body, then the mental body, the astral, the etheric template, the celestial body, and then the etheric template. Before we go through the details of each body, let us consider the dynamic process of disease, as this will help us better understand how this all works together in a very real way, a practical way. Follow along with me from top to bottom on this chart. Starting at the top, at the highest level, the level of the I am, this person in this example believes he is superior to others. This causes a tear or tangle in his etheric template, because superiority is an illusion. The illusion has to be expressed in a literal way. Remember, consciousness has physics. In this case, the illusion is expressed as a tear or a tangle in that particular energy body. Now, one level below that, at the celestial level, this person loves what he believes. In this case, he loves being superior. This causes a blockage of the celestial light in a particular way in that particular body. One level down, the person wills their beliefs into being, into manifestation. They thus try to be superior, and this causes a distortion in their etheric template. At the astral level, this person has desires that arise according to the belief in superiority. This in turn causes blocks and stagnated energy and dark forms in that particular energy body. Down at the mental level, this person has thoughts on superiority, whereby sometimes they think that they are superior, and other times they have fears and they think that they are inferior. This creates disturbance of thought, dissociated thought forms, and conflict at the thought level. In the emotional layer, this causes fear of being inferior, fear of failing to match up to the superiority levels expected, fear of getting embarrassed, and so many other related fears. This is the superiority-inferiority complex in action. Sometimes it makes the person feel like a king, other times full of shame and anger and grief and guilt and embarrassment. It causes depleted energy or dark blocks of energy in this particular body. Down one level in the etheric body, it causes physical pain in appropriate parts of the body. And down to the physical body, it can manifest as disease or illness such as ulcers. Of course, along this whole journey, the person's environment through quantum energy interaction is also creating events and objects that match this belief system. I hope this chart also demonstrates the power of beliefs and why everything follows belief. Let's look at each body now, starting again at the top and moving down to physicality. We start with the etheric template layer and its corresponding crown chakra. These power the following issues: universal being, spirituality, oneness, inspiration, and universal consciousness. They deal with the higher mind, higher concepts, integration of our physical and spiritual self, and knowing of one's identity beyond the physical form. When enlightened, a person sees life as follows: I am that I am. When coming from a dualistic or judgmental position, however, they see life as follows: I know what I believe, I am what I believe. They identify with their beliefs, and this actually reduces them. The crown chakra has 972 vortices which, through their spin frequency, emit a violet-white color. The associated endocrine gland is the pineal gland, a pea-sized conical mass of tissue behind the third ventricle of the brain. By the way, the pineal gland has similar cells like the eye. It connects to the brain in the same way that the eye does, and it receives more blood than any other organ except the kidneys. Amazingly, it is located in the exact geometric center of the brain. The pineal also works like a portable portal and stargate into other dimensions for those who know how to use it. Next, the area of the body governed is the upper brain, right eye, skin, muscular system, skeletal system. The extrasensory perception associated with this is the knowing of whole concepts, which means receiving a whole concept that goes beyond the linear way that each of the five senses gets to know things. Next is the celestial body layer and the third eye chakra. Issues it powers: intuition, truth, higher feelings, celestial love beyond human love, love that encompasses all life, enlightened perspective, I love universally, dualistic judgmental perspective, I love conditionally, I love what I believe, number of small vortices, 96 indigo, endocrine gland, pituitary, area of body governed, lower brain, left eye, ears, nose, nervous system. Extrasensory perception, visualizing, either symbolic or literal. The etheric template layer and throat chakra. Issues it powers: expression, will, self-expression, judgment, faith, higher will, divine will, speaking, manifestation of form through sound. Enlightened perspective, I surrender my personal will to my higher divine will. Dualistic judgmental perspective, I will my ego's beliefs into being. Number of small vortices, 16 blue. Endocrine gland, thyroid. Area of body governed, bronchial and vocal apparatus, lungs, alimentary canal, throat, thyroid, neck vertebrae, mouth, teeth, gums, hypothalamus. Extrasensory perception, hearing sounds, words or music, and also taste and smell. The astral body layer and the heart chakra. Issues it powers: love, forgiveness, compassion, anger, healing, I-thou emotions, the energy of human love and compassion. Enlightened perspective, I love humanly, I love unconditionally. Dualistic judgmental perspective, I love according to my beliefs, I love conditionally. Number of small vortices, 12 green. Endocrine gland, thymus. Area of body governed, heart, blood, vagus nerve, circulatory systems, lungs, arms, ribs, breasts, thymus. Extrasensory perception, loving, the sense of loving another. The mental body layer and the solar plexus chakra. Issues it powers: personality, self-esteem, responsibility, decisions, honor, respect, gut instinct, fear, trust, linear thinking, perceptual intelligence. Enlightened, I allow my lower mind to reflect my higher mind. Dualistic judgmental perspective, I think according to my beliefs, I make judgments based on my beliefs. Number of small vortices, 10, yellow. Endocrine gland, pancreas. Area of body governed, stomach, nervous system, abs and stomach, liver, gallbladder, small intestines, pancreas, kidney, adrenal gland, spleen, midspine. Extrasensory perception, intuition, a sense of knowing truth. Gut instinct is often felt in the gut because this is where this chakra is. Are you starting to see the connections here? It's called gut instinct because that's where you feel the gut instinct, because this is where this chakra is. Consciousness has physics. Okay, the emotional body layer and sacral chakra. Issues it powers: creation and sexuality, power, control, money, personal emotions. Enlightened perspective, I love and allow all my emotions unconditionally. Dualistic judgmental perspective, I feel according to my beliefs. Number of small vortices, 6, orange. Endocrine gland, the gonads, or the reproductive organs. Area of body governed, reproductive system, sexual organs, pelvis, large intestines, appendix, bladder, hips, lower vertebrae. Extrasensory perception, emotional feeling. The etheric template body layer and the base chakra. This is the blueprint of all the physical forms in the physical body, by the way. Each part and organ in the physical body exists as an energetic template in the etheric body, first and foremost as a negative image of the physical body itself. Now, the issues it powers: family and social belonging, safety and order, basic survival, standing up for oneself, physical sensation, like I feel physically, I feel. Physical functioning, pain, pleasure, survival. Enlightened perspective, I accept my body sensations unconditionally. Dualistic judgmental perspective, I accept my body sensations according to my beliefs. Number of small vortices, 4, red. Endocrine gland, adrenaline glands. Area of body governed, spinal column, kidneys, feet and legs, bones, immune system, body support, spinal base. Extrasensory perception, kinesthetic feelings in your body, like a feeling of balance, shivers, hair standing on end, energy running, or even just good old physical pleasure or pain. And finally, we get to the physical body itself. As you can see, it too is a set of systems that interconnect. Issues that the physical body powers include, obviously, physical functioning, the manifestation of the statement, I exist, I am becoming. Now, remember that your physical body does not end where your skin is. It is much larger than that. Although it may not appear so, your physical body consists of your corporeal body and the physical world around you. Your actual physical environment, what you call your life. The events and objects surrounding your life may not look like they are part of your body, but they are indeed extensions of you, and they would never ever have appeared in your life if it were not a vibrational match for them. In other words, if you are not a vibrational match to the things that you see in your life, those things would never have appeared in your life. In fact, you wouldn't even be able to perceive them if you are not a vibrational match to them. And so, although technically you can say that your body ends where your skin is, and outside of your skin is, in quotes, everything else that is not you, this is just an illusion of how we perceive things. In reality, your environment is part of your body, but we will get to see how that works soon. Back to the body. The enlightened perspective expresses itself in the physical body as the statement, I exist as a reflection of my divinity. The dualistic judgmental perspective states that I exist according to my beliefs. And of course, the body's sensory perception is through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, the 5 physical senses. And now that we have seen how this system works, let's go back to the chart on the dynamic process of disease. Take a good look at it again. Do you now better see how this system works? Just look at it. Now, look at this other chart. It lays out how inner healing occurs. It occurs first from the belief level at the etheric template body. The first stage of healing, whether that means healing of a disease or healing of a perspective or a belief, you could say, that is causing you limitations and trouble in your life, starts at the belief level. Always the beliefs. The beliefs are the filters that prevent us from knowing ourselves in our whole truth. Beliefs literally split wholeness into illusionary pieces. That is their function. I will say it again because this is important. Beliefs were designed to have one particular function, and that is to split wholeness into illusionary pieces. That's what they're there for. That's what you use them for. They help us focus our experience into narrow frequency ranges so that we can best understand ourselves from that point of a narrow frequency focus, which is a very valuable tool if you use it wisely. If you don't use it wisely with conscious awareness, beliefs can become our own prisons of our own making. And so at this level, the healing starts by challenging the faulty belief system. Once the belief is healed and aligned to oneness, that celestial body sits in universal love. The etheric template layer then realigns to divine will. Love and acceptance are then given at the astral level. The mental body drops dualistic thinking and instead integrates the polarities of the dualities involved, meaning that the mind drops judgment. The emotional body first experiences the old blocked feelings, and sometimes they do come with some pain and some hurt that was held in within those blocks, and you will feel it. But then as soon as that energy flows through, it experiences freedom and bliss. The etheric body also releases trapped energy and resumes good flow of energy, and this in turn restructures and rebalances everything. And that leads to the physical body to then be revitalized and to be brought back into balance and health. Now that we understand the basics, let's look deeper into the energy blocks, defense systems, disease and healing in the aura. Again, we shall use Barbara Brennan's illustrations, as they are some of the best that I personally know of. We all create energetic blocks because we see the world as unsafe. Growing up, anything that seemed to cause us to be rejected, punished, or in any other way have our survival compromised is blocked. Unless a child is extremely aware and conscious, which is almost always not the case, the child will learn to block anything that compromises their survival. We block in energy patterns that involve our whole energy system. In addition to blocks, we also use defenses, energetic defenses. These energetic defense systems are designed to show power and thus scare off an aggressor, or they are designed to get us attention, and so on. Now, understand this. Fear is behind all blocks and defenses. I say again, fear is behind all blocks and defenses. Always it is fear. With unconditional love, the blocks and defenses go down. In fact, they disappear. And a different power operates that doesn't involve blocking and defense. Anyways, over time, blocked energy leads to recurring life drama and/or disease. In this example on the left, we see how pelvic inflammatory disease, ovarian cysts, and fibroids appear with inner vision of the energy blocks. We also see how the chakra is disfigured and how the energy tears and tangles. The figure on the right shows a disfigured solar plexus chakra and energetic blocks and tears. And here we see an example of past life trauma in the aura, the dark red wound you see there. It also diverts the main power current through the system, and this causes certain experiences in this life. And here we see different types of energy blocks and energy leaks. And here we see different types of energetic defense systems. If you look at them carefully, you will recognize them either within yourself or within people that you know. Perhaps the easiest one to recognize is hysteria. Have a look. As you can see, all this is not random. There are specific configurations that energy takes. Consciousness has physics. Now that you see how all this works, have you noticed that as a society we seem to be stuck in lower chakra thoughts and activity? Most of our waking moments are spent in our mental body, dealing with chakra 1 to chakra 3 issues. Issues such as pleasure and pain, survival, social belonging, safety, power, control, money, linear thinking, fear, trust, self-esteem, and other such basic issues. We spend most of our time in our thoughts, the mental body, thinking about chakra 1 to chakra 3 issues. This is extremely imbalanced. The challenge is to rise above this to the point where we are predominantly in the higher chakras, in balance with the lower chakras. This is part of our evolutionary challenge. Okay, so now we look at the nadis, also called the meridians. These are the energy channels through which energy flows. Of course, just like electricity or water, energy needs channels or pipelines through which it will flow. Consciousness has physics. The science of acupuncture, which most of us have definitely heard of, is based on these channels of energy called meridians. The main channels are three. There is the central column, referred to in the East as a Shushumna, and then you have the two spirals, the Ida and the Pingala. These three cross each other at the 7 points where the 7 major chakras lie. Next, look at this diagram. It illustrates some of the thousands of secondary chakras and meridians and how they interconnect. This is what acupuncture practitioners use when placing their needles to heal a person. So now that we can see how the energy system works, we are ready to consider emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. E-motion. E for energy, motion. Energy in motion, emotion. This simple point really needs to sink in before we proceed. You need to start thinking of emotion as energy in motion, like water in motion through pipelines. Water following a river course, for example. What happens when you block water? It dams up, the level rises, the pressure builds, doesn't it? Now, when you feel emotion, you are feeling energy in motion. You feel it in various places, including your chakras and in your DNA's light-encoded filaments, and so on. Emotion, energy in motion, is carried by the DNA filaments and the body's energy meridians or nadis, and it is metabolized by the chakras as it moves. For you see, you are a system, and you are part of a larger system, and it is part of an even larger system, and so on to the universal level and beyond. And on the other end of the spectrum, you are made up of 100 trillion cells. Each cell is its own independent being with its own systems, and the molecules in the cells and the atoms in the molecules and so on are all independent entities with their own independent systems. But all these systems are interconnected. They all connect, from the smallest, smaller than subatomic particles, to the biggest, bigger than the universe. They are all systems within systems, and they connect. Emotion connects you to this whole system. Emotion is what connects you to the system. Energy in motion. Emotion connects the whole system. There is a gridwork of channels that interconnects the whole universe through which energy and thought flows, and you are part of this universal system. Energy comes into your system from the environment, from the earth, from the cosmos, from other people, and so on. Energy comes out of your system again into the environment, into the earth, into the cosmos, and so on. When moving through your body, you feel this energy as emotion. Now here's a question. Do you really think it's a good idea to block this massive, ever-present energy flow, this universal energy flow that you're part of? Do you think it's a good idea to block it? Now that you realize how big that system is. Or let me ask you this. Can you win against the tides of that ocean? If you fight the ocean, who wins? The ocean, of course. And so you need to keep flowing, vibrating, and this flow and vibration will clear out your channels of old energies that are holding you back, and once you're open, it will expand and connect you with all of life. And once you are connected, you will live in the present, and the pipeline of life flowing through you will explode in size. And this is the good news. You can handle that mega size. In fact, you are designed to handle it. You are not designed to fight the system. You are not designed to block the flow. You are not designed to be restricted and tied by all sorts of limiting ideas that then block your emotional plumbing. You are not designed to suck life through a tiny little straw. You were designed to suck life through an 8-foot wide pipeline. And I mean that literally. The amount of data, if we can call emotions data, it is data. It's energy in motion, it's data, it's coming at you at any one time. If you're totally open, you could sort of metaphorically call it an 8-foot wide pipeline. When you block yourself, you restrict and constrict that pipeline. Some people have it so narrowly constrained that it's about the size, metaphorically speaking, of a drinking straw. Now here's the next point. Suffering comes from blocking this flow. Think about it, it's logical. You got this massive river coming at you, then you block it. You try at least to block it. You're now fighting with a very big ocean, and that is the definition of suffering. When you attach or resist, when you create those blockages, you create suffering. Cultivating emotional vulnerability, opening up, enables the flow. It reopens your channels. Your emotional system is your engine of power and your gateway to multidimensionality. Full emotional flow connects you with the universe. This flow also allows you to go beyond the confines of your physical body or your vehicle. Your emotions will also take you into your Akash, into the many lifetimes and experiences that are your multidimensional self. And as you are willing to travel these channels, you will begin to understand the purpose of consciousness, the design of life itself. The story is an ancient one, and it is stored within your body. The powers are beyond imagination, and they are locked within your body. You will learn to love and accept the totality of your vast being when you open to flow. It will also open your chakras, and even new ones that have never been used before. And this flow will spin the chakras, thus opening the seals within those chakras, and thus connecting you with all your energy bodies. And in this way, you will become awake. You will activate. And this is what you've been waiting for all along. You are what you have been waiting for. You are what you have been waiting for a very, very, very long time indeed. And emotions are the secret. Now, society has been very cleverly designed to keep you from knowing this very powerful secret about yourself. You have been told to close off your emotional system in so many ways that it is mind-boggling. You have been given cultural norms, male and female divisions, and acceptable behaviors, a gazillion shoulds and should nots, so-called education and civilization, culture, media, conditioning, traditions, religions, consumerism, democracy, communism, capitalism, socialism, feminism, machismonism. I don't know if there's such a word, being macho, morals, ethics, standards, class, etc., so on and so on. It just doesn't end. As long as it keeps you in a mental straitjacket that limits your flow of emotion in some way or another, those who would rather have you controlled will always win. The need to worship someone or something and to hand over authority to someone or something is a dangerous thought form in the human collective consciousness, precisely because it blocks this flow. So smash all ideas that limit you, especially the idea of who you have been told you are. Who are you? Is what you've been told that you are by society and by your upbringing and conditioning, is that really who you are? Or is it just a collection of memories and judgments and conclusions? Is it really you? Or is it just a shell? A mask? So do not cling to that. Instead, allow yourself to flow. Be flexible. Go beyond definitions. Go beyond shoulds and should nots. Stop giving your decision-making power over to other people, to society, to government, to institutions, and so on. You are equal to all beings. You are source energy. Your personality is a face you wear only in this incarnation, and even that changes many, many times during your lifetime. Who are you really? Feel. Just feel. Feel what even you have been denying yourself from feeling. Feel everything, and you'll start to discover who you really are. Don't be afraid of feeling. You will always be alright. You are designed to survive all your feelings. But as surely as you keep breathing, keep feeling. Make it okay to feel whatever you feel. Allow. Flow. It is the flow itself, in and of itself, that will resolve any issues in the system. The flow itself, if it finds a problem, will work through the problem and work that problem out. Flow fixes itself. Lack of flow creates problems. Flow fixes them. And beyond anything else, listen to your inner self, your heart. The truth is within. The kingdom is within. Ultimately, you are designed and meant to discover reality from within. God from within, not from other people. Do you love yourself? Start by opening up the emotional highways to places that you have hidden from yourself. Your emotional body created your blocks and your unconsciousness because of fear of judgment from your mental body. Your mental body sometimes loves to judge. When your mental body judges your emotional body shuts down, creates a block, or goes unconscious. So now it is time to drop that judgment while simultaneously going beyond the old fears and opening up all your channels. As you become adept at this, you will open the superhighways to the vastness of your being, in not just this incarnation, but in all incarnations that your soul has ever had. As male and female, as black and white, rich and poor, good and bad, father and son, mother and daughter, and even incarnations on other systems and planets in non-humanoid forms. You will start to discover the vastness of your soul. I suggest that part of your job is to meet with other aspects of yourself, of your soul, or of your entity, and merge with them. Integrate. The only way you can evolve is not to judge the process as you go through life, not to judge your participation within that process, and not to judge others as they participate. This is the only way to move into higher frequency. Feel without judgment. Smash the existing paradigms and become a heretic of reality. Feel even when it doesn't make sense. Rely on intuition and trust, not just logic. Don't think like a linear human. Defy the laws of humanity. When you do, you will discover that the legitimate and real reality has been hidden from you all along, and it has been replaced by a shell, a mask, an image. And you did that to yourself by accepting this mask, this image, this shell. And when you encounter a part of you that is not light, a part of you that is darkness, love it unconditionally. It too is seeking solutions, seeking light. Dark is simply the absence of information. Light is information. Share the light with all of yourself, both your light sides and your dark sides. Love them all, because it is through the frequency of love that the frequency of light rides. Information or light rides on love, and they are both frequencies. Realize that on the other side of fear is you. What you fear is simply you playing with yourself while wearing a different face. Once you're fully connected, you experience firsthand oneness. The I is currently separated. Once awakened, the I is not annihilated. It doesn't disappear. Instead, it is incorporated. That is unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, multidimensionality, and the ability to exist in multiple places and beingnesses all at once, and much, much more. However, there is no need to force anything. Simply relax, let go, flow. You are incredibly rich. And that is what those who control you don't want you to realize. You can change anything you want. If only you knew how abundantly wealthy you are because of your emotions. The true gift of emotions, which most people never get to experience, is the incredible ability to transcend many different realities and to move through and experience different states and dimensions of experience. Emotions also allow energies to come together, to coalesce and fuse into brand new possibilities. Without emotion, this infusion or bonding would not be possible. Emotion is also essential to understanding spirituality. Emotions allow you to understand and inhabit the non-physical. This is why anyone who has ever wanted to control you always did so by finding ways to discourage you from experiencing your full emotional range, and instead encouraged you to feel powerless and fearful, or in one way or another restricted emotionally. And I am not necessarily talking of parents, I'm talking of the bigger picture. Everything from societal norms and culture to media to governments to religions, educational institutions, and so on. Fear of something keeps you from experiencing it, keeps you in a tiny cage. But before we run around pointing fingers and blaming people, let us always remind ourselves that we are not victims. We are all doing this to ourselves on some level. Anyways, back to emotions. All emotions have value. Even anger and pain lead you to something new if you go with that flow. Don't judge any emotion. Allow it. Ride it through to the next emotion, and the next, and the next, until you ride out into the light. Emotions are food. They are food to you, but they can also be food to others. Those who wish to control you feed off your lower emotions. They feed off your fears. You, on the other hand, starve if you only sit within a small, fear-based emotional range. You blossom when you flow through all possible emotions. And so, the difficult things are actually your gemstones. In other words, what you find difficult is actually what is a gift in disguise. Learn to feel your way through these difficulties, and they will always lead you to new treasures. Love your emotions, all of them. Frequency detection is another benefit of having a full emotional range. You see, the logical mind cannot register frequency change, but feeling easily registers frequency change. You walk into a room full of people. Immediately, your body starts to scan the place. That's automatic. Your emotions give you vibes on what's going on under the surface. Your logical mind cannot do that, not in a million years. But your emotional system does it automatically, always, as long as you don't block it. Learn to feel. If you don't want to go through life blind to the frequencies, learn to feel. Now, we all want to discover our subconscious beliefs, right? Well, then use emotions. The emotions follow beliefs. Period. Emotions always follow beliefs. If you feel a particular emotion and watch it to see why you would feel that way about, whatever it is that you're feeling about, you will always discover your beliefs about that thing. Always. Your emotions will always lead you to your beliefs. Simply watch your emotion. Step back. Let it be. Step back. Watch it. Ask yourself, I wonder why I feel this way about this thing. And that will start to reveal your beliefs to you. Emotions are natural, ever-changing energy phenomenon, each leading into another in a free flow of energy. To refuse them is futile. They are one of the means by which consciousness knows itself in physicality. And so emotions are not destructive. They cannot be. One emotion is not good and another evil. Emotions simply are. You cannot affirm one emotion and deny another without setting up barriers. You try to hide what you consider as negative or bad feelings in barriers that you set up with your mind. You try to hide them in dark boxes where they will never be found. And it is futile, for in the end they build up and build up and build up, and they always find ways to break through. It's better not to dam them up, not to block them. And you wouldn't try to hide or block them if you trusted your individuality, by the way. trust your individuality and you will no longer be afraid of your emotions. And this is what true affirmation means. Affirmation means accepting your soul as it appears in your creaturehood. As it appears. Not as you wish it appeared or as you are told it should appear, but as it appears now. You cannot deny your creaturehood without denying your soul, and you cannot deny your soul without denying your creaturehood. The two go together. Emotions are filled with powerful energy. They merge into a powerful and benevolent sea of being when left alone. Left alone, hate does not last. It will automatically change if allowed to flow in a healthy way and not tampered with. If you believe that hate is wrong or evil, you may try to inhibit that emotion if it arises, or you may turn it against yourself, or you may pretend it isn't there. All these just cause the hate to dam up, to build up, to be blocked, to multiply into an explosive force that will start to imbalance you. However, if you accept it, if you allow it and let it flow in real time, naturally, healthily, then that powerful energy that you now call hate will find its own resolution, and it will be useful. In its natural state, hatred initiates change and action, never violence. Violence happens when hatred is allowed to build unresolved. It is an expression of the feeling of powerlessness. That is the natural outcome of blocking hate. You cannot have a physical self without emotions any more than you can have a day without weather. So just quit trying to block certain emotions. When trusted, all your feelings will always lead you to understanding, to wisdom, and to peace. All of them. And for you to trust your emotions, you must trust yourself. You must affirm yourself as you are here now. Affirmation means acceptance of your own miraculous complexity. It means saying yes to your own being. You have the right to express your desires, to communicate your feelings, to say yes or no in accordance to your truth, and so on. Affirmation is the acceptance of truth in your present as the person that you are right now. Practice radical self-acceptance. Radical self-acceptance. That doesn't mean you may not desire to grow or to change any particular life experience that you're having. You always have free will. You can always desire to change. But self-acceptance means that you no longer judge yourself. You no longer love yourself conditionally. You first accept yourself even as you choose anew. Emotion is your communication coming from your inner being. It is given from the multi-dimensional aspects of your creaturehood, and if it is spontaneously and honestly followed, it always magically solves your problems in interesting ways. Now, just like the color white is the result of mixing all primary colors, all other emotions are based on love, and in one way or another, they all relate to love. And thus they are all methods of returning to love and expanding its capacities. Emotions are also an indicator of how you are blending with your soul. At every moment you are experiencing contrast, and contrast creates new desire. All your desires are accepted wholly and unconditionally by your soul, and they instantly, I say again, instantly evolve your soul. Your desires instantly evolve your soul, and they are always wholly accepted unconditionally by your soul. And thus your soul instantly creates a manifestation of your desire so that it can experience that desire physically. Your non-physical self literally becomes your new desire unconditionally, and fully does so instantly. Now, understand this. If you are as sure of who you are as your non-physical self is, if you had the same 100% faith that your soul has, you would also give your undivided attention to your desires, as your soul does. And instead of worrying and struggling, you would experience indescribable excitement, passion, and joy, and gratitude, followed by manifestation of your desire without anxiety. If you are able to keep up with your soul, the exhilaration of that connection would be delicious. When you do not allow yourself to keep up with who you have become, you feel the discomfort of that resistance. This is what you are doing when you feel bad. Whenever you feel bad, this is an indication that you are in opposition to your soul, to who you really are. And in this way, emotions are always telling you if you are swimming against the flow of your soul, in which case you feel bad, or if you are keeping up with your soul, in which case you feel good. When you feel good, you are affirming yourself and your beliefs are in line with who you really are, your soul. When you feel bad, it is an indicator that you are holding yourself in opposition to who you really are. And so emotion serves as a valuable indicator. Let your emotions be your guide. Expansion is constant because at every moment the contrast is creating desires that are immediately being met by your non-physical self. And so practice the art of allowing, emotional openness, and emotional vulnerability. Allowing is not about taking action. It is about alignment of thought, alignment of vibration. Every encounter with what you don't want causes a natural asking for what you do want. That is the purpose of contrast. Every desire causes the non-physical you to literally become the vibrational equivalent of what you desired. Every question you hold causes non-physical you to formulate an answer. Every problem you face causes a solution to be created, and the non-physical you literally becomes the solution vibrationally. These are all held in vibrational fields, waiting for you to become a vibrational match. As soon as you flow and become a vibrational match, you experience the manifestation of those desires. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Your job is to follow your bliss at all times, regardless of dogma, regardless of conditioning, regardless of society, and so on. And to trust that up or down, it will cause the most appropriate growth for you. Just like a ball naturally rolls down a hill on its own accord without needing any engine or external effort, your desires naturally manifest without your effort. Once you create desire, natural forces and laws take over and the desire rolls down to its natural conclusion. Now, as Abraham says, relax and let go and flow downstream. The stream of life is benevolent and wise and will always lead you to the fruition of your desires automatically. Simply stop rowing up the river. Stop rowing up river. Just let your boat flow downstream. Okay, great. Now, as you can see, the human being is somewhat of an advanced set of quantum technologies, and all technologies need an operating system. The human being has many operating systems. However, the core ones in this time are the mind and the heart. Two core operating systems, mind and heart. The mind is linear. It was built for and is great at navigating the 3D physical environment. However, it keeps you separate. In fact, it was designed specifically to create the illusion of separation. It is incapable of dealing with multidimensionality because its whole purpose and design was precisely to throw out the multidimensional, as we will soon see. Its habitual way is to judge things and separate them. It also cannot operate in the now. it is the main operating system for survival consciousness, and it evaluates everything according to, get this, what's in it for me. It's always looking around and asking, what's in it for me? That is survival consciousness. Most of the time, it is focused on survival, on safety, on food, on shelter, on wealth, on power, on knowledge for me. The other operating system, the heart, is quantum. It is multidimensional. It allows you to experience beyond the veil, into multidimensionality. The heart is not better than the mind. The mind is not a bad thing. However, they are both tools, and it is good to understand the tools in your toolbox. The heart operates only in the now, and it is the only place one can release judgments. Therefore, raise your vibration by learning to spend more and more time operating from the heart instead of operating from the mind. That is how you access multidimensionality and escape the trap of survival consciousness. Now, the will to receive is the way of the mind. What's in it for me? Me, me, me. The will to receive. And that is how it should be for the mind. It is appropriate. Because the will to receive has a counterpart. The will to bestow. You know, the will to give. To bestow means to give. The will to bestow is the mind of the Creator, to create a creature and fill it with unbounded delight. And so the heart, through the action of unconditional love, transforms the will to receive into the will to bestow and activates the God gene within you. It literally changes physics and biology. And that is how these two systems work together. Now, here is another key point in all this. Except for people that have reached higher advanced state of consciousness and enlightenment, most of us cannot consciously operate from both operating systems at the same time, but we can switch back and forth between these two operating systems. You usually cannot run both the heart operating system and the mind operating system at the same time unless you have become a truly balanced human operating from unity consciousness. Before then, while you're still operating from survival consciousness, if you get into your thoughts, you tend to break contact with your heart. When you get fully into your heart, you tend to step out of the linearity of your mind. But because we almost automatically default to the mind in our present day, you have to consciously practice to operate from your heart more and more until you can start to do it automatically or predominantly. And in this way, eventually, you will learn to find balance. Okay, great. Having covered how this system operates, we are now ready to look at human consciousness, in other words, the personality. Human consciousness has only 4 parts. It has the intellect, that's the first part. Secondly is the logic. Third is the emotion system. And fourth is intuition. Let's look at each briefly. Intellect is the linear faculty of reasoning and understanding objectively. It is important to note that this is brain synapse based. It is a function of the synaptic brain system. And because of this, it cannot go where the heart goes or where the innate goes, into multi-dimensional areas. Instead, it is built for 3D survival, mostly. And it is perfect at that. That's what it's built for, and it's a fantastic tool for that. A lot of human problems, though, arise from trying to use the intellect for things that are beyond 3D, things that cannot be solved by intellect. For example, many of us intellectualize emotion. We intellectualize love. We intellectualize spirit. It simply won't work that way. Use the brain only for what it was built for, which is 3-dimensional survival and objective 3-dimensional matters. One interesting attribute of intellect is that you can force it to go in any direction of your bidding, even if the direction is wrong. For it always obeys authority from the ego. This is a great strength when used well, but it is also a great weakness when used blindly. Logic is reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity that have been accumulated through past learning, through conditioning. Logic is very much a function of programming. You can be programmed, and you often are, to reason in a certain way, regardless of the actual truth of the matter. Therefore, even as we appreciate and use logic, we need to be aware that much of it is programmed and may not reflect the truth. Now, logic is also brain synapse based. It is a function of the synaptic brain. It is very good for survival, but it is almost useless for anything beyond 3D survival. Yet, we humans try to use it for everything, even for what it wasn't designed for. And just like intellect, you can force logic to go in any direction of your bidding because it always obeys authority from ego. In fact, logic is born of the intellect. Emotion, energy in motion. We've already talked greatly about this. Now, unlike intellect or logic, this one is not linear. This one is not brain synapse based. It is not a function of the synaptic brain. Instead, it is DNA based. DNA communicates via emotion, and DNA uses its filaments and the meridians to move the emotions through you. Emotion is the gateway to our multi-dimensional self and the subconscious. We can temporarily force emotion out of its natural flow, for example by blocking our feelings or by getting addicted to certain emotions and so on. But we cannot do that forever, because emotion is an energy that cannot be destroyed, so it simply builds up behind the walls that we are using to block it, and eventually it explodes. So the best strategy is to flow, to open up all emotion and just flow. And finally, we have intuition. Intuition is the ability to understand some things instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. It is not linear like intellect or logic, and it is not brain synapse based. It is DNA based, just like emotion. Intuition is quantum consciousness. Although in the past it has been ignored by humanity, this is a far more powerful and far more vast system than intellect or logic. It works even on the collective level. Whereas logic, emotion, and intellect are very personal, intuition is both personal and collective, meaning it also works at group level. You and your friends can get an intuitive feeling about something at the same time, even if you're not physically near each other. What a system! An entire nation or a region or even an entire planet can get an intuitive, instinctive feeling about something that hasn't happened but is about to happen, even though they don't know each other, because intuition works in group, and it is intelligent enough to know which members of the group or which groups to choose. What a system! Now, although intuition is DNA based and DNA is all over the body, intuition is also part of the functioning of the pineal gland, which is the portal to the higher self. Intuition is extremely powerful, but it does not, I repeat, it does not obey the ego. You cannot force it. It's not like logic or intellect or even emotion. You cannot command it with your ego. You can only open up and allow yourself to experience it. You have to step aside and give it space to have importance, and once you do so, it will align even the intellect, logic, and emotion such that they all work together unified as one whole. I repeat, once you step aside and give it space and importance, intuition will align the intellect, logic, and emotion such that they all work together unified as one whole. Imagine the power in that. Once intellect, logic, and emotion are subservient to intuition, it all makes sense and nothing feels fearful. You will have attained balance. Great. Now let's consider how we perceive life. Perception has an engine, and it works in a very specific and interesting way. Let's see how your engine of perception works. Your perception engine is composed of 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. These 5 senses are connected to the brain, and they feed your logic and your intellect. This system was specifically designed to filter out multidimensionality and create the illusion of three-dimensionality, the illusion of separation, and the illusion of time flowing linearly, sequentially, from past to the future. In other words, it was deliberately designed to filter out true reality and instead give you a tiny slice of time so that you can focus on tiny slivers of vibrational frequency, one at a time. And this is a very important point to remember. Again, it was designed to limit you, and for good reason. Let's move on and see how it works, how you perceive the world, step by step, and this will make deeper sense in a moment. The first step is receiving the signals from the outside through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your skin. For simplicity, we shall consider the eyes mostly in this illustration, but you can apply the same reasoning to all the other 4 senses. Now, the golden rule is that you always see what you believe. From the infinite ocean of pulsating energy, your beliefs determine what you will call forth, what you will experience and perceive. There are literally millions of data points surrounding you from the infinite pool of energy. But you only perceive about, for example, rough number here, 2,000 data points out of the millions of data points surrounding you. You, through your beliefs, filter what you perceive, taking in only what is within the range of your belief system. The entire system of perception was built this way on purpose. The point of physical reality is to provide you with an environment that allows a specific focus on a narrow energy band so that you can conduct a test of energy that cannot be done in any other way. Without this artificial limitation in place, this kind of focus that you attain on any particular issue would not be possible. It was designed this way for the sake of testing energies, testing consciousness, evolving it along a specific path. Next, your 5 senses capture the belief-filtered limited data. Again, there is further data loss because these senses also have a very narrow detection range that is 3D only. Think of it as a black box with 5 holes that let data into the black box. Your brain is in your skull, in total darkness, by the way, in total darkness, enclosed, completely enclosed by your skull. It is literally a black box. This box is being fed data by the 5 openings, the 5 senses. The 5 senses convert the data into electrical impulses and send it to the black box using nerves. The black box takes these electric impulses and converts them into representations in the brain. If you're looking at an apple, for example, your eyes receive energetic data, convert it to electric impulses, and then send it to the brain using the optical nerve. There is no image, there is no picture being sent. It's just electric currents. The brain takes these currents and makes up an image in the mind, and it calls it the apple. In fact, There is no independent apple. It is the brain that calls the energy configuration an apple. The apple is not an apple to another kind of creature with another kind of consciousness. It is an apple to a human. And maybe it is a home to another consciousness, or a field of glowing energy to yet another type of consciousness. You make up the apple. The apple doesn't exist as an independent reality. That is a very important point to realize. You are giving meaning to everything that you experience, and you have the power to change the meaning that you gave your experiences. Even though you may not realize that you do, it is all up to you. Now, since we know that the senses are simply taking in a portion of the energy spectrum and making up images and smells in the brain, it is therefore also important to ask ourselves this question: how much data am I getting? How much am I missing out on? This question forces you to open up and release the chains of conditioning that you have wrapped yourself in. So let's ask that question now. Let's look at the eyes first. The eyes are capable of only detecting energies in the 430 to 760 terahertz range. This means they are perceiving light at wavelengths between 390 and 750 nanometers only. Everything else is not seen. Considering the fact that energy is a spectrum that is infinitely wide, this is a very tiny sliver of reality that we are recognizing with our eyes, yet we keep asking for visual proof for everything. Our eyes are incapable of seeing most things. Now, the ears. The ears are capable of only detecting energies in the 20 to 20,000 hertz range. Touch is capable of discerning deformations down to 13 nanometers. The nose. There are about 110,000 major smells in nature that we know of, maybe even more. However, the human being's nose, your nose is only capable of smelling about 100 to 200 smells only. 100 to 200 smells only out of a total estimated 110,000. Finally, taste. Taste is the weakest of all human senses. Now, here is the big one of all. All 5 openings, all your 5 senses function on the wheel to receive. The 5 senses themselves are not built to give. They cannot give. They are built to receive. Ego. Me, me, me. What's in it for me? They are built to serve ego only. There is nothing wrong with this. It is perfectly built. In fact, it is appropriate. We are grateful for it. There is nothing wrong with it. It's supposed to be like that. But nevertheless, it is important to be aware of your equipment so that you are not tempted to use it for what it wasn't built for. So, when a person says that they want a visual proof for everything, they have already limited themselves in a box. You cannot get visual proof for everything. It's not even possible. Your eyes cannot handle the bulk of reality. Yet, you have other facilities that can handle infinity without a problem. Yet, most of us don't use those facilities. Now, the day has come when humanity begins to rise above survival, rises above 3D and into multidimensionality, and with that, humanity just has to learn to love their 5 senses. Yes, love them, but rise above them and forget about asking for proof from them for everything. Anyways, back to the five senses. As you can now see, they are built to create the illusion of separation, the limitations, and the spiritual blindnesses that humans experience, because that is part of the game. It is part of the game of polarity integration. You can say that heaven is all around us, but we filter it out with our closed box. Next, the signals move to the brain. This is fairly simple. It just involves converting the signals into electric impulses, which are then transported via the nerves to the brain. Next, judgment and projection happens. The brain distorts, filters, generalizes, associates, gives meaning to, and presents a reconstructed sound or image or smell or taste or touch to us. This is a function of what we call neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. Your brain takes these incoming electric signals and gives them meaning, judges them. We tend to immediately and automatically, and mostly habitually and unconsciously, give meaning to these signals. We judge them. You judge it based on yourself, your beliefs. Judgment is a function of this system. For you see, this impoverished, limited input that finally makes it into our senses is then run through brain programs and filters. It is then categorized, distorted, generalized, and so on, and reconstructed to make a sensation of, in quotes, reality by the brain and synapses. A reality that must be acceptable to your belief systems and conditioning. That is judgment. And if you believe in your judgments, you automatically box yourself into a limited position, accepting the illusion as truth, being limited by your beliefs. That is why you are asked not to judge. Not because God will punish you, but because judgment keeps you trapped in the box. And so, the brain is a subjective system. It is not truly objective. It can never be truly objective. It is not built for that. It is built to reduce objective reality into a limited subjective experience. The brain is a program, and this program is called ego, the will to receive. What's in it for me? Survival and separation are its function, and rightfully used, it is a wonderful system of growth and experimentation. Badly used, it can literally be hell on earth. The next step is that we then react to the meaning that we have given to these signals. We react to the judgments that we have made. And we do so in a way that suggests that we have hypnotized ourselves to react in particular ways. We react to the presented mental image as if it were complete. Number one, as if it were complete, yet it is not. We react to that mental image as if it were true, yet it is not. We fail to realize that it is complete and that it is completely made up. After judging it, we react emotionally to our interpretation. We then have thoughts about this personal reality, and in doing so, we reinforce and prove our beliefs. Or, in very, very, very rare cases, we create new beliefs. Based on our thoughts and emotions, we then take action. Most of the time, we just do the same thing over and over and over again as if we have hypnotized ourselves. This is called conditioning. The challenge is to break out of conditioning and to find truth. Judgment gets in the way of breaking free from conditioning. Anyways, once we react, life gives us further proof that our beliefs are right, and the cycle continues. Unless you break that cycle, the cycle just keeps continuing. It feeds itself. You see what you believe, and thus you prove your beliefs. And therefore you call forth more of what you believe, and then again you see what you believe, and the cycle continues. And so, in this way, reality is observer created, meaning you create your reality. But there is no independent reality. This is the point of this exercise, for you, for me, for us to realize that. Let me ask you a question. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there, does that tree falling make a sound? Think about that before you answer it. Now, most people on this planet will automatically say, yes, of course, it makes a sound. Doesn't matter if no one is there, it makes a sound. However, that answer is incorrect. If you answered yes, it simply proves that there is a subconscious belief telling you that there is an objective, independent reality out there, and that you can be a victim of that independent reality. But look at it this way. When a tree falls, the sound of it falling and hitting the ground is actually created by a disturbance in a medium, in this case, a disturbance in the air. When the tree strikes the ground, it creates rapid pulses of air, rapid air pressure variations, which spread out at about 750 miles per hour. Whether or not there are human ears present, these pulses of air will occur. But there will be no sound attached to them. No sound attached to the pulses of air. However, if a human happens to be nearby, these puffs of air will cause the human's eardrums to vibrate, which in turn will stimulate the nerves in the eardrum and create an electric pulse, which then travels to the brain and is reconstructed into what you now call sound. However, that will only happen if the air puffs are pulsating at between 20 and 20,000 times a second. And that's it. If the same puffs of air pulsate at 15 times a second, the eardrum won't vibrate and no sound will be created. If the puffs pulsate at 21,000 times a second, the eardrum won't vibrate and no sound will be created. But look, what is the difference between air puffs traveling at 15 times a second and those at 20 times a second? Nothing. There's no difference. Except that one will never be registered by the human ear and the other one will make the human conjure up an idea called sound. This simple demonstration shows that it is your consciousness that creates the experience of the, in quotes, external world. It is all internal. You give it meaning. In fact, you call it forth and then you give it meaning. It doesn't have an independent objective meaning that exists without you. And by the way, the same pulses of air to a completely different consciousness, something that is not even an animal or a bird or, the kind of creatures that we're familiar with, something completely different. This creature or this consciousness will see or feel or whatever it is, these pulses of air as something totally different, not even as air. In fact, the tree is something absolutely different to another type of consciousness. It isn't even a tree. This system gives an appearance of an independent external reality. It gives the appearance of an I and a you, an I and a thou. But that is not the way ultimate reality is. This perception that we have as humans is an illusion, and it is a system designed to create that illusion, as you can see. I now read a paraphrased quote from Dreaming Yourself Awake by Alan Wallace. The yellow we see on a taxi or the red in a flower exists not in the taxi or the flower, but in us. They are just as real as the fire in a fire-breathing dragon in your dreams. The sun emits photons and radiation, but we perceive it as hot and bright. These qualities of yellow, red, hot, bright, and so on are built into us, not in the things themselves. The qualities we perceive arise in full dependence of the vehicle perceiving them. They are not out there. Even in waking consciousness, in that sense, we are dreaming, believing that the sun really is bright and hot, the flower really is yellow, that gravity is inescapable, and all the other conditions built into our vehicle's perceptual setup. Both waking and dream consciousness are forms of awareness. All awareness can be shaped and directed and is subject to conditioning." End quote. But there is a further limitation imposed by this system. It is the limitation of linearity. We are so used to linearity that we do not even realize how reality crippled we truly are. Consider this. Have you ever attended an event where you had maybe 5 speakers who spoke to the crowd? They had to speak one at a time. Maybe each of their speeches was 20 minutes long. This means that the crowd, including you, had to wait a total of 100 minutes to hear all 5 speakers do their 20 minutes each. You had to go through the whole thing linearly. The speaker had to speak one word at a time, and your brain had to receive it one word at a time. And then you probably got some reading material and you took it home with you. And then once you got home, you sat down and you read it one word at a time. You are reality crippled and you don't even know it. This is what I mean. If you had quantum reality, you would see everything all at once. You would not only receive all the messages from all the 5 speakers and the reading material all at once, but you would also apply the information conceptually and see all its possibilities and potentials of its application all at once. You would see the whole rather than the fragmented. You would span time in all directions rather than linearly in one direction only. You would have vision instead of perception. Vision and perception are completely different things. Vision is whole. Perception is fragmented. You are reality crippled and you don't even know it. Enlightenment involves transcending this conditioning and attaining direct experience of the true nature of a thing. We are multidimensional beings pretending to be linear, and we are built to break free, to transcend linearity. And that is part of the game, the polarity integration game, the evolutionary path of humanity. Consciousness has physics. Now that we see how we literally create our version of reality, we can better realize that our own self-concept is the one thing, the one and only thing, I repeat, the one and only thing that limits our self-experience, our life experience. I'll say that again. Our own self-concept is the one and only thing that limits our life experience. The programming and conditioning we carry around is the only thing that limits us. Nothing outside of us can limit us. We are never victims. So, let's look at self-concept. What is the self-concept? Generally, self-concept embodies the answer to the question, who am I? It is the ego, the false and separated self, the not self. Self-concept is an individual's perception of self. This mental image of oneself has a major causative effect and influence on the life experiences of the individual and affects opportunities, experiences, relationships, functional abilities, health, and just about everything else of that individual. The self-concept controls what you can and cannot accomplish, what is difficult or easy for you, what you perceive and don't perceive, how you relate to others and how you relate to yourself, how you relate to yourself and how you relate to your creator, and much, much more. Your entire life works itself out to prove and validate and reinforce your self-concept. Whatever you hold as true is what you experience. All your limits are imposed only by your self-concept. We are doing this to ourselves. Yet, the one thing we all want deep down is more life. A life experience that is unrestricted. What we are actually saying is we want a life experience that is unrestricted by our own self-concept, our own self-imposed artificial limits. And intuitively, we know that we are infinite and unlimited, and that is why we keep pushing the boundaries. We keep trying to get some more, to grow. The only thing is, we don't usually realize that the boundaries are imposed only by ourselves and on ourselves, and that nothing outside of us can impose boundaries on us. So, we need to get out of our own way, but do so with compassion and love, never with self-hatred and judgment. The self-concept acts as a filter against anything that is inconsistent with it. It ensures that you don't say or do or think or see anything outside of your self-concept, and ensures that your subconscious doesn't accept anything that is incongruent with your self-concept. The self-concept includes everything about you and your world. What are the aspects of the self-concept? The self-concept is a system, I repeat, a system of ideas driven mechanically. I repeat, mechanically. The self-concept is a system of ideas that are driven mechanically. The ideas within the system tend to be consistent with each other, and any ideas that are inconsistent with the overall system of ideas are rejected. In other words, they are not believed. The process of thinking and believing is itself mechanical. It has definite triggers, anchors, associations, steps, processes, beginnings, and ends. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. The keywords here are system and mechanical. Once you realize that this system is mechanical and that it has triggers, anchors, associations, steps, beginnings, processes, and ends, you are better able to free yourself. For example, a person may have an inferiority complex system running in their self-concept. This system might be triggered whenever a member of the opposite sex looks at them in a certain way. For example, you know that shy guy who always acts clumsy when that beautiful girl looks at him? Yes. Now, once triggered, this system starts its mechanical processes. Everything from producing shortness of breath, rapid heart rate, sweaty hands, a need to hide and flee, blocked thought processes like you can't think, and so on. And at some point, it runs out of energy or hits another trigger that then brings it to an end and starts that other one. Each time the trigger is activated, just about the exact same sequence runs. Have you ever caught yourself saying, why do I keep doing this same dumb shit all the time? Because it's a system. That is why we say it is a system, because It is mechanical and it has starts, processes, and ends. Now, this system is comprised of everything we have talked about, but it can actually be grouped into 3 major selves, if you want to call them that. You have the private self, the public self, and the ideal self. The private self, this is what you believe about yourself, the beliefs that you have accepted as true about yourself. This is your current reality. It is made up of what you consider true about yourself and about life now. This is where you have mentally zeroed in on an outcome as if it were already in existence, as if it is a foregone conclusion. That is what sets the criteria for what enters into your life experience. The public self. This is what you think that other people think about you. It also involves what you think about the world in general and your relationship to the world. It is your worldview. The ideal self. The ideal self is the person that you would like to be ideally. This is where your goals and dreams and aspirations and so on go. It includes things that you believe you can be, but you don't believe fully yet. Now, the private self, the public self, and the ideal self may be different, but they all have the same attributes. They all have the attributes of time, the attributes of dimensions, and the attributes of components. When it comes to time, all the cells have the idea of their past self, their present self, and of course their future self, which contains their hopes, fears, goals, and perceived threats. For example, your private self has a past private self, a present private self, and a future private self. All the cells also have mental, emotional, and behavioral dimensions. And all the cells also have the following components. Personal identity. This is your conscious description of yourself. Personal identity is the sense of what sets a person apart from other people. It may include the person's name, gender, ethnicity, family status, occupation, and roles. Personal identity develops during childhood from self-reflection and feedback from others. Your identity is who and what you present to the world through the behavior you have according to your boundaries in relationship to your worldview. Self-esteem. Your self-esteem is your personal opinion of yourself. A healthy self-esteem is necessary for mental well-being and a positive self-concept. Self-esteem is the judgment of self, usually formed by comparing the actual self and the ideal self. Self-concept also differs from self-esteem. Self-concept is a cognitive or descriptive component of one's self. For example, I am a fast runner. While self-esteem is evaluative and opinionated. For example, I feel good about being a fast runner. Self-esteem refers to a person's overall evaluation or appraisal of her or his own worth at any one point in time. Generally speaking, it is an emotional measure of how well we are living up to our worldview. Self-esteem is perhaps the single most important emotional gauge of our ability to feel almost all other positive emotions and beliefs about ourselves. For example, it affects our measure of happiness, success, well-being, confidence, assurances, etc. And it is made up of all of these feelings in a combined sensation called self-esteem. While self-esteem is a general state of mind, it is affected by changes in any one of the various feelings that make it up. For example, a drop in confidence will lower self-esteem in the short term. Prolonged negative experience will produce a long-term reduction of self-esteem. Yet, at the same time, a positive emotional experience will increase the sensation of self-esteem. In simple terms, when you experience an event or situation that supports your worldview, your self-esteem increases, and vice versa. And how well you measure up to that worldview is reflected on your sense of self-esteem. Each component works together to define your character. Body image is the attitude about one's physical attributes and characteristics, appearance and performance. It changes as the body changes over time. We could even say that the body changes as the body image changes over time. The way one perceives the body is affected by personal identity and by self-esteem. Now, understand this. Body image is an actual image of the body stored in the mind. An actual image. I'm talking about a photograph here, ladies and gentlemen. A picture. Close your eyes and you will realize you can literally see your body. Even in the dark, you know precisely what your body parts are doing. You know where they are, you know what they're doing, you can almost see them. Because your body image is actually alive and it is an exact replica of your physical body. You cannot, for example, lose weight beyond the parameters that you have accepted as your mental body image. If your body image is fat and you try to lose weight, even if you succeed, your subconscious will bring you right back up to where your physical body image matches your mental body image. And if you change your mental body image, you don't have to diet. Your physical body will automatically find ways to adjust to the new mental body image. Body image includes everything about your body, down to facial gestures, hand movements, health, fitness, and so on. It is literally a picture that stays in your mind. I need you to understand that consciousness has physics. Just to prove this, let's take a few moments. Close your eyes. Like literally close your eyes. Don't worry about what's going on the video. Close your eyes. Now, stick your hand out. Your right hand. Just stick it out in front of you. Now move it to the right. Okay? Move it to the right as far as you want. Doesn't really matter. Now open your hand up so that your fingers are freely flowing, moving about. Your fingers are open, right? Now, with your eyes closed, do you have a sensation of exactly where your hand is and exactly what it's doing? Clench your fist. Can you see it even with your eyes closed? I'm not saying physically see your hand, but can you see, is there a mental image in your mind of your hand that is quite precise? That's what I mean. Body image is an actual picture that exists in your mind. Roles. A role is a set of expected behaviors that are determined by familial, cultural, and social norms. People express their self-identity through their roles. Your boundary is very much the same as the boundary lines of a property. It is a clear, defined border that surrounds the house with all its treasures. In this case, your self-identity is your house, your property. The boundary lines let others know how far the ownership of the property goes. A belief about how big or small you are, who and what counts as you or not you, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and so on, all form your boundaries. The worldview refers to the structure or framework that a person uses to organize and define what the world is to them. Our worldview allows us to understand how the world functions and how it is structured. The totality, everything that exists around us, including the physical universe, the earth, life, mind, society, and culture, are all part of our worldview. The worldview is a filter which we, or you, make judgments of others and yourself. Your worldview is your standard of how things are or should be in the world that you live in. Sadly, we all tend to adopt our worldviews from our friends, family, religious groups, and societies and so on, instead of making an active, conscious process of creating our own worldview based on what we have tested as true or applicable to us. In any case, these sets of ideas that you are now watching are indeed actually changing your worldview, aren't they? Think about it. As we all know, the process of growing up plays a key role in formulating our self-concept. This graphic from Delmar Cengage Learning demonstrates this excellently. As you can see, the self-concept is continually built up over time through life experiences, heredity and culture, stress and coping, health status, developmental stages, and so on. Primarily, the first 7 years of our life form a massive foundation upon which we build on for the rest of our lives. But it is important to realize that we are not victims. Even in the worst of circumstances, we choose the meaning that we give each circumstance, how we define ourselves, and we have the power to change that choice at any time in our lives. So don't use the blame game as an excuse for anything. The minute you blame, you disempower yourself. Responsibility always brings responsibility, the ability to respond. Blame, on the other hand, brings paralysis and victim consciousness. The self-image is extremely powerful. You may, for example, have attended dozens of self-help seminars, read countless of books, and you may know all that there is to know about being a healthy human being. But somehow, that theory doesn't get translated into practicality. And the reason for that would be the self-image. If your self-image is incongruent with your knowledge, your vision, all those seminars and books that you've read, your goals, and so on, the self-image always wins. The self-image is often the problem. It's not the lack of knowledge. Most of us already know way more than we are applying in our lives. The self-concept is the filter that locks out things. It is the self-image that filters out actions, locks out, everything else that is not like it. This filter is comprised of your beliefs, which then give rise to your imaginations and your feelings, which then draw certain life experiences to you, and which you then act or react to in a certain way. All these are controlled by your beliefs. Remove those filters of belief, in other words, remove the self-concept, and you will experience infinity. But what triggers the creation of a self-concept in the first place? Well, just like the Buddha said, resistance or attachment is what creates selves. Whenever you resist something or attach to something, you create a self with which to resist or attach to that thing with. I'll say again, whenever you resist something or attach to something, you create a filter with which to resist or attach to that thing. When something is neutral to you, in other words, when you don't have resistance or attachment to a thing, whenever you encounter such a thing, something that you don't resist or attach to, you never ever create a self in regard to that thing. Think about it. Think about in your life. All the things in your life that have hot button issues for you, or that you really desire, you have a self created. Then there's the bulk of life that you don't even give a damn about. You don't care. Yeah? And you do not have a self created in relation to those things that you really don't care about. Now, do you see how your upbringing through resistance and attachment created the many mini cells that then come together to form your overall self-concept? Do you see that? That's how conditioning works. Consciousness has physics. Now, you cannot talk of cells without talking of the state of being. A state is a condition of being. For example, a happy state, a confident state, a depressed state, a sad state. But it is much more than just emotion. It is a complete person, complete with emotions, physiology, body gestures, breathing, patterns, beliefs, values, perspective, filters, thoughts, time perception, space perception, identity, public-private ideal selves, roles, boundaries, worldviews, body image, self-esteem, and so on. All of those come together to form a particular state of being. Okay? It is like a version, an instant, a photograph of a self. It's literally a complete person of a certain kind for a time. And when you are in one state, you find it very difficult, if not impossible, to access the thoughts and feelings and energy and resources of any other states. Sometimes when you leave one state and enter the other, or enter any other, you wonder if you are really the same person. For example, there are those of us that have experienced the following. You went to a party, you had a good time, you drank a bit too much, and in the morning you said, I will never do that again. Your party state was different from your morning state. In the morning you are sure you will never do that again. And then a day comes when you enter another party state. And the same cycle happens. When you're in the party state, you find it impossible to access the feelings and resources and thoughts and declarations of your I will never do it again state. And this applies to so many things in our lives. The state is a complete person. It's like a photograph. And now let's talk of self-awareness and self-knowledge. Self-awareness involves consciously watching how yourself thinks, feels, believes, and behaves. It leads to self-knowledge. Self-awareness is achieved by witnessing, stepping back and just watching, without judgment or manipulation, how the physics of your consciousness operates. Self-awareness leads to quantum leaps of transcendence, quantum leaps of power. A lot of us struggle with problems and we run around like headless crazy chickens looking for magic pills to solve our problems. We try one magic pill after another, and often nothing works, at least not in the long term. Well, if we only would stop fighting and resisting and attaching, and instead just witness with compassion and no agenda, not even the agenda of ending the problem, if we simply stopped and witnessed, we would magically see the system at work. This is self-awareness. And the very act of seeing the system at work enables you to master it, to transcend it. All you need is self-awareness. That is the power of self-awareness. And that is why at the Oracle of Delphi in ancient Greece, the ancients wrote the words, "Know thyself." Just 2 words, know thyself. Of all the things they could have written, all the things they could possibly have written about in this universe, in a place as important as the Oracle of Delphi, they wrote, know thyself. And Jesus said, seek first the kingdom, and all things shall be given unto you. And he also said, the kingdom is within you. So forget the magic pills and just develop the art of witnessing, compassionate self-awareness without any other agenda but to know thyself. Not to end problems, not to change, not anything else, not to escape, not to become better, not anything else, not even to be enlightened. No agenda but to simply witness without judgment. We can enhance self-awareness by developing the ability to step back and look at any situation while being aware of ourselves and how we are reacting to a situation. Self-awareness is the awareness of the self as separate from the thoughts that are occurring at any point in time. Without self-awareness, the self perceives and believes the thoughts that are occurring to be who the self is. In other words, without self-awareness, the self identifies with the thoughts and emotions flowing through it. With self-awareness, the self realizes it is but a witness that watches, unconditionally, without judgment. Self-knowledge is a term used in psychology to describe the information that an individual draws upon when finding an answer to the question, "What am I like?" Self-knowledge informs us of how our system works. Self-knowledge comes from self-awareness. Witnessing, also known as mindfulness, is the path to self-knowledge. Now, did you know that we have approximately 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day? Did you know that? That is an average of 3 thoughts per second. 3 thoughts per second. 90% of them are repetitive. 90% are the same thought you had 3 minutes ago, 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, the same stuff just going all round and round and round again and again and again. 90% of those 60,000 thoughts are repetitive. Yet, if you asked a random person at the end of their day what they have been thinking about most of the time, he or she will find it quite difficult to tell you what the bulk of their thoughts that day were about. They would have no idea. Most people are running on autopilot, as if in a dream, as if asleep. The program runs most people, and they don't even notice that they're in a program. Yet they can, if they choose to, they can notice. Mindfulness, or witnessing, becoming aware of our mental process, is what allows us to create changes, to change who we are acting to be in the moment, to play a new role. It's not the magic pills that will help us. It is self-awareness, witnessing, mindfulness. Know thyself. And on that note, let us end this investigation into the human quantum body by looking at how the synaptic brain system works. The synaptic brain system simply means your brain and the nerve synapses that produce its functionality, and the functionality actually of the whole nervous system. Now, what was the brain created for? As we have seen, it was created to limit vision into perception, and thus give the illusion of separation and limitation. This allows a human to have a unique set of vibrational experiences and make unique choices based on the perception of separation. It was necessary because it is, in reality, impossible for you to separate from source and from everyone and everything else across the universes. And so, an illusion of a separation had to be constructed. I'll say again, because it is impossible in reality for you to separate from source energy and everything else in the universe, the illusion of separation had to be constructed. The illusion of time was also created within the same consciousness, so as to allow space to make adjustments, so that thoughts and emotions are not immediately projected and materialized into matter, which is what normally happens in higher dimensions. Here, in physical 3D, thoughts are materialized one at a time, linearly. This perception of the illusion of separation does not exist in other dimensions. In other dimensions, you can preview all your many different timeline options in totality and simultaneously. But in 3D, you only see one timeline at a time. And this forces you to perceive and be aligned with only one now moment. In 3D, your consciousness, through your brain function, moves, in quotes, from one now moment to the next, in quotes, now moment. And it does so by altering frequency. You don't even realize that this is happening. But if you were to really step back, you would begin to notice the cracks in the system. But when you are so involved and engaged in the game, time seems like one fluid line whereby the past causes the future, and so on. It is your brain that is pasting these now instances into a seemingly linear progression, giving it a story and erasing any glitches along the way so that you don't even notice it is being done that way. but you are literally picking now moments through alteration of your overall vibration or frequency, and your brain is stringing these now moments into a seemingly linear story that makes sense to your belief system. If you are to eliminate your beliefs on the nature of reality, you discover that you even have the power to jump timelines, to jump space-time itself. The miraculous would become normal. The 3D reality creates unique pressures and difficulties which, when mastered, create unique opportunities for spiritual advancement. Once mastered, this allows you to exclusively focus on the slices of the now. And this is a rare, beneficial, and very exciting construct, and that is why it was designed that way. It may not feel like a very special thing to you or to I before we master it. In fact, it can feel like hell before we master it, but once mastered, it provides opportunities that are unavailable to higher dimensions. Mastery. Be in this world, but not of it, as Jesus said. Master space and time and free yourself from their constraints. Dehypnotize yourself from the illusion, the Maya. Once you do so, you will discover and create unique abilities to transform and transcend situations, and this is where the opportunity for mastery lies. It may not feel like it before mastery is achieved, but the chance to come to Earth and play this game is highly desired and anticipated for by souls all over the universe. Now, let's look at how this works. The brain is literally a black box with 5 sensors, as we have already seen. In summary, it contains the box of beliefs and conditioning, the self-image that you have built for yourself about who you are and what life is. It has filters that are called beliefs. These have been built up through conditioning. They group up in patterns and function as a mechanical system with triggers, beginning, processes, and endings. The 5 senses are an extension of the brain. They are deceivers of reality. Deceivers. Designed to limit the perception of reality from its infinite vastness to a small, tiny sliver. They are designed to perpetuate the illusion of separation, and they are designed only to serve the will to receive, incapable of expressing the will to bestow, in other words, the will to give. And so you literally see what you believe. Now, we get into the really interesting part, the synaptic nerve system. What is a synapse? It is a structure found in the brain and the nervous system. I'll show it to you. This is the brain. Let's zoom in. Here we see a network of nerve cells. You see the orange points that look like they're little flames? This is where the nerve cells connect. Each one of those orange points is a synapse. And then you zoom in, and this is how a synapse looks like. Well, sort of. This is an artistic impression. The synapse connects neurons or nerve cells. A synapse is a structure that permits a neuron or a nerve cell to pass a signal to another neuron or nerve cell. Synapses are found in the brain and all over your body. Your body experiences things precisely because signals jump across synapses. I repeat, your body experiences things precisely because signals jump across synapses. It is that jump, the orange dots that you see here, that jump of the signal, it is that jump that makes you experience life as a body. Now, the signals that pass across a synapse are of 4 kinds. 2 kinds are non-physical signals and 2 are physical signals. On the physical end, we find that the chemical compounds such as neurotransmitters and electric charges jump across synapses and cause physical experience. On the non-physical end, we have light and sound jumping across the synapse. This is not the audible or visible sound and light that you are accustomed to. This is on another level, beyond our 3D perception. Now, let's see how these work together. Imagine you are crossing a street and suddenly a car appears out of nowhere. You barely notice it and you jump out just in the nick of time before that car hits you. Bam! You just barely dodge it. Close. Now, if you rewind that event and look at it from the synapse, here is what you might notice. First, even before you physically realized that there was a car, your non-physical bodies, all your bodies, they register the car at an energetic non-physical level. In fact, the entire event is actually completed. It's over in the non-physical realms before it even starts to register physically. The non-physical bodies experience the inaudible sound and the invisible light that we just mentioned. They experience it jumping across the non-physical equivalents of your nervous system. Yes, there are non-physical equivalents to your nervous system. Now, this then translates to the physical body, whereby the chemical and electrical signals then move across the physical nervous system, and you register the experience physically. So, it happens first, always in the non-physical, before it is registered in the physical. Now that you know what a synapse is, let's look at how conditioning or programming actually happens, for it has to do with the synapse. In fact, science has studied it greatly and formulated a law for it, complete with mathematical equations. This law is called Hebb's law. We won't get into the mathematics of it here, but we will summarize it as follows. Neurons that fire together wire together. That's it. I'll say it again. Neurons that fire together wire together. That is the basic formula of how you get programmed, how you get conditioned and somewhat trapped into repeating the same thing over and over again, even when you don't really want to. Neurons that fire together wire together. Look closely at this image. We will use it to explain conditioning using the example of a dog being trained. Imagine that you had a puppy dog and you wanted to train it to come to its food plate when it's time. How would you do it? What is the most efficient way for you to condition your puppy dog to come to its food plate when you need it to? Well, one way of doing it is that you would get a bell or some kind of sound that you'd only make at meal times. On the first day, you'd get the puppy, you'd show it the food that you have prepared, and then you'd make the sound, you'd ring the bell, and then you'd let the puppy eat. Its mouth would automatically also start watering as soon as it sees the food, and without its knowing, its brain would start linking the sound of the bell with the food. That would start to create a new neural connection between the sound of the bell, the vision of the food, the saliva in the mouth. After you do this a few times, you will have succeeded in conditioning that puppy. Its neurons and their synapses would have formed a new connection. Remember, neurons that fire together wire together. Now, if you simply rang the bell, that dog would come running, salivating, even if there is no food, man. The bell alone will cause saliva. The bell alone would cause saliva, because those circuits have been linked, and this dog may actually carry that network, that neural pattern for life, and that dog would find it very hard to replace that conditioning unless it is actually reprogrammed. And get this, the more you repeat this bell ringing alongside the food exercise, the more the neural pathways grow. They grow and grow and grow until it can be very difficult to override them consciously. The more you do a habit, the harder it is to stop that habit. Because initially, the first time around, the neurons that fire together wire together as a small tiny point. That's what happens the first time. But each subsequent time that you make them fire together, you expand that point, first into a pathway, then into a road, and eventually into a super highway. But the good news is, whether Hebb's law has produced a point, a path, a road, or a superhighway of programming, it can be reprogrammed. And so this leads us to what the synaptic system was designed to do. The synaptic system is the most advanced memory and relational computational device on the planet today, and it is an excellent survival device. In the past, it has mostly been based on survival consciousness. With intuition turned off and emotions blocked, human intellect automatically goes into survival mode, creating survival consciousness and, dare I say, a hard life. To get out of survival consciousness, turn on intuition and make intellect and logic serve intuition, and then be guided by it instead of by external stimuli and fear. Also, open up emotionally. On dropping survival consciousness, you start recognizing unity consciousness, otherwise known as Christ consciousness, or multidimensionality, and you become unconditional love. You also become in touch and intimate with your innate, your smart body. The innate is a function of DNA, not human consciousness. Innate is even smarter than your brain, but they don't do the same job. Anyways, the synaptic brain system creates perception without which we could not navigate 3D. By the way, we discussed the innate in detail in the video on DNA, because innate is a function of DNA. Anyways, the synaptic brain system creates perception without which we could not navigate 3D. Our ears, eyes, and other senses all convert signals into electrical signals sent to the brain, which then reconstructs a sense of perception that we then call life. Now that we know what the synaptic brain was meant to do, let's consider what it is not meant to do. The brain is not designed to give you truth, and therefore it cannot give you truth. It can only give you the results of computational analysis, logic, and reason, based on past experiences and your beliefs. But it is totally ignorant beyond that, and it cannot go beyond this. It is also easily confused, and we get into a lot of trouble with ourselves when we try to use it for everything. You know, for manifesting, for understanding multidimensionality, for judging, for finding proof in all things, for connecting with life, for charting our path through life. I mean, it was never designed to do these things, and the more you try to make it do these things, the more it gets stressed and therefore pushes back, causing suffering and blindness to how life works. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that the ego, which is what we've been talking about all this time, has a purpose. It is not an enemy. It only feels like an enemy when we push it into things it's not designed to do. It pushes back, and we experience suffering, blindness to how life works. The brain is not the center of consciousness. It is merely a 3D engine that receives certain kinds of information, processes that information, and signals the body appropriately. The brain is a tool. It is a 3D engine for synapses that are the bridge between 3D reality and multidimensional reality. If you wish to find truth, don't ask the brain. Ask DNA. DNA communicates to you through intuition and through the innate. DNA is an entity. It's not a bunch of chemicals like we've been led to believe. I mean, of course, there are chemicals in DNA, and they are doing what we've been told that they do. But they are a very small portion of what DNA is. The chemicals are simply a bridge that connects the physical body to the multidimensional self. The rest of DNA, the bulk of DNA, is actually multidimensional, and it's not a thing. It's an entity and an event. DNA knows. The brain processes, but DNA knows. The brain processes, DNA knows. DNA creates a multidimensional field around you, and that is the true center of consciousness, even beyond human consciousness. When your brain dreams at night, it is actually accessing information in DNA. And that is also why all dreams are in a quantum state, whereby time and space don't work as they do in waking reality, and why they don't always make linear sense. The brain is a very important tool indeed, but it is meant to be an advisor to the body, not the CEO, not the master, not the boss. We are overloading it, tasking it with things it was never designed for. The brain is not the same as the mind, by the way. The brain is the physical device in your cranium, in your skull. The mind is non-physical. The mind has two components, the higher mind and the lower mind. The higher mind holds true thoughts as they emanate from your higher self. And these higher thoughts do not originate from the human brain. The higher mind is accessed when the brain is silent. The lower mind, on the other hand, is all about brain activity. These are the mental experiences you have as a result of distinct changes in your nervous system. Unfortunately, the lower mind is what humanity generally regards as the total mind, oblivious usually of the higher mind and of true thought, of high thought. So the brain, the physical component, has thoughts. These thoughts that the brain has are actually the lower mind. Now, the brain, as you may have heard, is not working at full potential. It is working at only a fraction of its built-in capabilities. Some people say that we only use 10% of our brain. I don't know whether that number is accurate, but I do know that most scientists will tell us that we are hardly using it. Anyways, whatever the number is, we don't use our brain's whole abilities. We only use a fraction of them. DNA, by the way, also is not fully activated. It is functioning at approximately 30% efficiency. Once DNA is fully activated, when DNA is at least 88% activated and the whole system goes live, then the brain will start to work at its full potential and start working in a way that we cannot even imagine now. That is the future of human evolution. Right now, we are running at a fraction of our inbuilt potential. Imagine how things will look like when all systems go live. Enlightenment, ascension. And DNA is the driver of that process called evolution. It literally drives it forward. DNA is an entity, alive, full of spirit, with purpose and direction, above and beyond maintaining your body. DNA is the least understood, yet most phenomenal component of the human being, and that is why we shall look at it next. Remember, everything we have talked about is quantum. All this is energy that is flashing in and out of existence 50 billion times a second. Energy that is multidimensional. Energy that obeys quantum mechanics. The sensation of solidity, I have a solid body, and the sensation of time is all an illusion perpetuated by the body's systems. And now you know how the illusion is constructed. But the reality is, you are quantum. You are multidimensional. So, start seeing yourself that way, in your mind's eye. Start thinking like a multidimensional quantum creature, and you will find that the universe will cooperate with you to prove that you indeed are quantum and multidimensional. Don't think like a human. Think different. Think multidimensionally, quantumly, for it is your divine heritage. And always keep in mind that consciousness has physics. And so it.
Alright, if you like that, here are 7 more things for you. Number 1, download the free Awaken Your Avatar report. Number 2, take free trials of our self and world mastery courses. 3, download the free A Happy Pocket Full of Money illustrated book. 4, help me make more videos faster by supporting me on Patreon, and I'll reward you with some very, very cool perks. 5, subscribe, comment, and share this video. 6, get our cool merchandise like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and book recommendations. 7, help translate these videos' captions if you can. Thank you very much, and see you later.